Thank you for joining us here at Victorious Living, where we believe in kingdom building, kingdom living, and kingdom giving. Here's your host, Nicole Michelle.
Good morning and welcome to Victorious Living, where we believe in kingdom building, kingdom living, and kingdom giving. I'm your host, Nicole Michelle, and we are joined in the studio this morning with our special guests from Houston, Texas, via Natchez, Mississippi, Anthony and Zelda Cain. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us. As you know, we've been talking about the Abrahamic blessing, which is the first prayer that we wrote in the prayer journal, Prayers of the Righteous That Availeth Much. And now I can tell everyone, when I wrote this prayer and I finished it, they were the first people who came to mind. So wow. I'm so glad to have you here. I know you guys have helped with the book sale, so thank you so much for that. And I understand you had a chance last night to read the prayer of the Abrahamic blessing. Reverend Cain, do you want to share with me what you thought?
Well, actually, in hearing, reading the prayer, it fitted us so much, you know, going through the different changes that we experienced in, you know, moving to Houston.
Yes. And
so after even reading that prayer, it was just like right on target, you know, for us, like a prayer that we prayed.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Zelda?
Yeah, it really was. It was just, it brought back so many memories of our journey coming back to Houston, and coming to Houston rather from Natchez.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So can I spill the beans? What I know about your story? So all I know, I remember being a little girl growing up in church and hearing how this couple relocated themselves and their 3 young children to Houston, Texas from Natchez, Mississippi on $100. Is that true?
Was it.
Pretty much, yes.
Tell us how that happened.
That was it. You want to go?
Well, actually, coming to Houston, the only thing we had to really start with was, you know, that dollar amount, but it's what God had promised us, you know, that if I would get to the city, that He would bless us. And that's pretty much all we had to go on. So it was tasking, but, you know, God brought us through it all.
Yeah, and the amazing thing is that God has spoken to both of us. And so we realized that, you know, most people when they make the move, they've got to make sure that the bank account is in order, that they've got a job waiting for them and everything. And so actually when we decided to make the move, there was none of that. So of course we only had $100, literally. And he was working but resigned from the job that he had. And all of our family thought that we should just take a leave of absence, come out and see how things work out. But in our mindset, if God is directing us and we're sure that we've heard His voice, then the thing to do to prove to God that we were trusting Him was to actually leave the job and resign from it, not take a leave of absence and come out. And that's what he did. And I stayed behind with the kids until the Lord blessed with employment.
Wow, okay. So Reverend Cain, tell us what happened when you first got here.
Well, actually, I arrived here on a Sunday night, and by Wednesday, I did have employment.
Oh, now that was God moving.
Yes,
Yep.
and even the following Sunday, being a musician, I was actually visiting a church, and just so happened, the musician had just gotten married and was on vacation. So they were in need of an organist, you know, on that Sunday. So God orchestrated our path, you know, and was very detailed in handling everything that we needed.
Wow, isn't that just like God? You know, when you take that leap of faith and you move from the familiar or towards what's familiar to you and move to a new familiar place that God wants to bring you to, just like He said with Abraham, to get from amongst your people.
Yes.
And I'm sure, how was that transition leaving from Natchez, Mississippi and coming to Houston, Texas? Because I'm sure small town in a big city.
Well, first of all, we knew nothing about Houston. Okay,
my
and we didn't have relatives that we were close to or had strong relationships with when we decided to make the journey. I actually had a sister that lived here that I didn't grow up with, but that lived here. We made the phone call. She said, sure, you can come out. He may have met her twice before he came to live with her to try and find employment. And so we moved into a city that, of course, Natchez is being extremely small, the size of one small section of Houston, to a city the size of Houston. And it was just, it was a place to be, you know, and we just, the way God orchestrated our steps, we just knew that we were supposed to be here.
Wow. So when did you know you were supposed to be here?
It was actually, the process took maybe a little over a year.
Okay.
And I would have dreams, you know, of moving. And of course, I had no idea of how God would bring it to pass, but it just got to a point where it was bothering me and I couldn't find, peace. I was just disturbed because I hadn't done what God, had commanded us to do.
Isn't that good when God speaks? He knows how to disturb you.
He does.
And make sure you don't get any rest
Yes.
until you get it right with Him.
Right.
That's so exciting and so amazing. I remember, I think my first encounter with the Cains, I think I was in high school, so it must have been maybe 90, 91, or somewhere in there, and I remember graduating in 92, and Zelda would let me call her Colette from New Orleans. So I thank you. So I had a mini Abrahamic blessing experience, relocating to go to school from Houston to New Orleans. That's all I had, but nothing like what you had. So you said God was tugging at you. So it wasn't just your desire to want more. God was actually saying it's time to leave naturally.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
And what's interesting is we thought that what we had there was it. We were living a life, so we thought, and having a desire to want more. So we didn't know to want more than what we had. So compared to the people that we were surrounded with, our sphere of influence, we were doing quite well, we thought.
Okay.
When we look back on it, it was like, really, you thought you were doing well? But, that was God, and so we knew that the move here had to have been Him, because we would have stayed where we were based on what we were doing there.
Wow, that's good. You said you didn't know to do better. So what would you tell a person or one of our viewers who may be watching, who may feel stuck and don't know, they don't know what better looks like, or that you can have better, because you already think it's good, but not knowing that it can get better? What would you say to them, Reverend Cain?
Well, actually, being in fellowship with God, and when He directs you, He's directing you towards better.
Yes.
And
that's
so
good.
when you follow His lead, you may not have a clear understanding of what better is, or even know to pray for better. But when you fulfill His will, then better is going to come.
Yes.
You may endure hardship, along the way, but if you keep your focus, on God, then He will direct you, and you will have better.
That's good. That's good.
I think the other thing we have to remember also is that better doesn't mean materialistic things.
That's right.
Okay,
No,
and so better meaning being in the will of God. And so as long as
That's
you're in the will of
good.
God, you've got better, and it doesn't have to be material.
That's good. I think this is a great time to pause for a moment of prayer. We'll be right back. Prayer for the Abrahamic blessing. Dear Lord, I come as I am to your throne of grace. I recognize that my obedience to you has been delayed by my fear of leaving my family, familiar surroundings, and comfort zone. In this moment in time, it is my utmost desire to please and serve you wholeheartedly. I ask that you speak with such clarity that your servant hears you with definiteness of power and purpose. I no longer want to experience the partiality of your blessings and covering. I now seek and want to experience the completeness and totality of all that you can and will be in my life upon my complete and total surrender to your will and your way. Dear Lord, just as Abraham, the father of faith, stepped out in belief and faith to what is unseen but known through the promises of you, the God of light, love, and truth, I now step out